If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well as follow me and subscribe to me on all my other social media platforms. What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel. Trying out another camera angle, something different this time since the table is gone, because eventually the set's going to be different in the future. But anyways, welcome back to the channel, and I have another album review for you guys. This is one I was curious to check out. My first time checking out this band, I am going over the latest offering from Polish/British Death Doom upcomers Eternal Rot with Moribound. So this one actually came out a few days ago on the 24th of July, but I wanted to do it as a solo review today because, well, it's a Death Doom band, and I do enjoy quite a bit of Death Doom. And when I was looking at this band's Metal Archives page, I saw like comparisons kind of similar to the band Gateway. They were compared to like Hooded Menace and Coffins and even other Finnish Death Doom bands like Rippikoulu or bands along those lines. So I figured, well, this should be some really good stuff. And, well, we kick things off with Summoned from Moribound Delusions. And pretty much right away you get one of the big modes of this album, which is this slow churning, crunchy Doom riffs. But the vocals, holy crap. I thought the vocals on the Gateway album that I talked about in the previous episode of Under the Radar were putrid. These, I think, take what Gateway does vocally, but makes it even more disgusting, like drenched in reverb in the production to like really make it sound like someone's puking into the microphone, which is awesome. And there's even some like puking sounds before a big chuggy riff comes along. And there's even some like church organs in the background too, with cool drums building tension. Reflected in Perpetual Waves of Despair also brings in another thing that this album is going to have pretty much on almost every other song, and that is horror movie samples, or just horror samples in general, with like monsters puking, some like weird eerie ambience. But then it leads right into some riffs that come in here that remind me of the band Sleep, but only done in a Death Doom style, like Sleep or even Electric Wizard a little bit, kind of like a Death Doom equivalent of Sleep and Electric Wizard. The tempo does pick up a little bit before you get a really gross bass line, and that's another thing. There are some notable bass lines that kind of come in here and there on the album. You just have to really listen for it. Swollen Corpse Adoration, right away, another bass line to kind of kick things off, going along with some like nasty tremolo riffs done at a slow pace, kind of like Dark Throne, but again in a Death Doom context. Although this song in particular was really interesting because you get this, like, not long after the song starts with that bass line and tremolo riff, you get almost like a hard rocking, shredding guitar lead. And this is, to me, as far as the whole album, I think this was the only guitar lead on the entire album, but it was noteworthy because it had a more hard rock vibe, and even the song itself brings in some hard rock elements to the riffs, kind of bringing out a little bit of a death and roll vibe, like kind of trying to mix death metal, doom metal, and hard rock together into like a death and roll sound, which I thought was pretty cool, and I thought this song executed that quite well. Desecrated Guts, more horror samples into some like galloping rhythms and even like a cool little hard rock guitar part before it gets gross throughout the majority of the song, but there's some dissonant melodies kind of heard in the background. Gestures Never Recalled brings in, to start off, a little bit of a bolt thrower vibe because it gets a little bit more double time with the riffs, but then you get like these dissonant tremolo lines, chugging breakdown, like the Doom breakdowns whenever they decide to break down the Doom influence, this was one that really stood out in terms of like how heavy and chuggy it got, and even some like what's the word I'm looking for? Descending melodies towards the end. And then you end with Lurker and the Morgue. You get some like cool guitar slides before a riff comes in that keeps that bolt thrower vibe going. But then more riffs that come along kind of made me think of like early Hooded Menace, like Fulfill the Curse, or even like Darkness Trips Forth, like the real slow side to Hooded Menace as opposed to the classic Death Doom side of Hooded Menace that I love. But yeah, despite some of the riffs kind of feeling similar, these songs change up different elements. Like the first track gets a little bit chuggy, but you also get some like cool church organs. The second track kind of brings in some like stoner vibes, as well as picking the tempo up. Third track kind of being a little bit more on the death and roll side. Fourth track bringing in some more dissonant melodies. The fifth track bringing in some like bolt thrower vibes. And then the final track bringing in some Hooded Menace vibes, as there's a fucking gnat flying in here and I'm sick of that shit. But there, I got the little bastard. Anyways, now I need to wipe this table off, so just a second. But yeah, pretty much all these songs deliver something different to them as opposed to sounding samey, which is really cool. They're able to change things up on a whim in these songs, which I definitely appreciate. Now this, compared to the Gateway album I talked about in the Under the Radar episode this past Tuesday, here you can hear the snare drum. So the production on this, much better than the Gateway album. Simply put, the guitar tone, it's just filthy. The bass tone, probably one of the grisliest bass tones I've heard in a while. The snare is audible. The vocals are just absolutely fucking disgusting. So overall, this was a step up from that Gateway album. As far as an overall score, I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. I thought this was a pretty good album considering all the different influences that are being pulled into this, and I really, really enjoyed those differences within the songs. So yeah, 8 out of 10. But of course, this is all just my opinion. What did you guys think of Moribound by Eternal Rot? Let me know in the comments below, and until next time, keep your horns high and your dreams wet.